So without further ado, I'd like to hand over to Andy. Over to you, Andy.
Cheers, Dave. Thanks so much, and good morning, everybody, and welcome to a sunny Sheffield. And what we'd like to try and do is tell you a bit about what this is all going to be about. And we're going to look at moving this whole idea in terms of creating delighted and devoted customers. And just a quick introduction. I'm always conscious when I sort of start these things off, people asking the question, who the hell is Andy Hanselman? I'll get the bad news out of the way. I'm a management consultant, and I actually help businesses and their people create competitive advantage by what we call thinking in 3D, which is being dramatically and demonstrably different. How do you make your business stand out from the crowd? And people say to me, Andy, why 3D? Well, I actually think we are in a dramatically and demonstrably different world, and it's moving incredibly quickly. In fact, I was in my car about a year ago now, just driving along, and a friend of mine, Henry, said to me, Andy, what on earth's that? And I said, it's my iPod. He said, how come you've got the old-fashioned version? Henry was 7. He's 8 now, so he's 8. It's important he knows that. And I did some research. The year before Henry was born, Facebook was 2. YouTube was 1. Twitter had just been born. Didn't even have iPhones. Spotify was just an idea, and MySpace was the biggest social media website going. I'm going to talk about social media all morning. What I'm going to talk about is this fast-moving world we're in. I've been doing this for 25 years now, working with a real mix of businesses, some you'll know, some you won't know. And the reason I sort of put that list up, I'm no specialist in one particular sector, although what we do actually find is that many people have the similar challenges that we actually face. And we've identified a number of characteristics of what we call these dramatically and demonstrably different businesses. We've written a book about them, and here's an example of a 3D business. Sorry, it didn't work, I don't know why. Anyway, characteristic 3 of 3D businesses is they create delighted and devoted customers. I want to stress right at the beginning, this is not have a nice day, this is not the McDonaldization of your business. It's about exceeding customers' expectations. And I think the really scary thing in some sectors today, simply doing stuff on time, on budget, actually exceeds customers' expectations. And what we're actually going to look at is what are some of the things we're up against and why customer delight is important. Maybe look at how 3D businesses actually create those delighted and devoted customers and give you some ideas in terms of how you can make it work for you. And what we're going to do is take you through a very simple 3-step process called awareness, assessment, action. Awareness is about painting pictures, telling stories. Assessment, don't worry, there are no tests or exams. But assessment is you saying, well, how do I measure up? What do we do well? What do I not do so well? And then more importantly, step 3, action, what is it we're going to take? And hopefully this will give you a few ideas to actually go away to make this stuff work in your business. I will actually put some resources on my differently titled website, andyhanselman.com. I'll put a link to that so you can actually get the slides and a few other bits and bobs that you might find useful. And well, why customer delight? Well, I think one of the things that we sort of see is we're in an incredibly fast-moving world. And here are 7 trends that we see, and just see if any of these sort of ring true for you. We're in the age of abundance. What we actually see in so many sectors today is that there's massive choice. And that choice is coming from all over the place now. And it's becoming more and more difficult for you and your business to stand out from the crowd. In fact, if you've got nothing better to do, just type in management consultant Sheffield, and you'll actually see that up comes 529,000 entries. Luckily, there are not 529,000 management consultants in Sheffield, and luckily for the rest of Sheffield, I mean. But it means that at the touch of a button, there's lots and lots of information out there. So the challenge is, how do you stand out from the crowd? It's a very simple example of somebody who did that. 4.5 years ago, we were on holiday in France. We went to Saint-Emilion. You've ever been to Saint-Emilion? Basically, it's a small village in the middle of nowhere, world famous for its wine, and it's 653 wine shops and a monastery. I don't know much about wine. We thought we'd better buy some. We wandered through all the streets, and everybody was selling it. It was so crowded, and we were just sort of rammed with all this information. No idea which one to go into, until we walked into this little square and saw this sign. The shop just on the other side of this street is not as nice as mine. So, of course, we went in. I suspect that's not a great marketing plan for most businesses. So, what are the challenges we're up against? Customers are putting up more barriers. Think about yourself. Do you have a spam filter on your email system? Are you X-Directory? Do you actually have the mail preference system so you don't actually have any junk mail? Do you have things like something like Sky Plus, so you don't have to watch the adverts anymore? And what we're actually seeing is more and more people are putting up barriers. It's getting more difficult to get in front of people. And I don't know if this helps or not. There's a little bit of extra advice for you here. I've came up across something recently. There's now an app that actually stops any mention of the Kardashians on your social media. So if you want to get that actually blocks them out from you, that's going to be a positive. There's greater transparency. More and more of us are using things like TripAdvisor. I'm yet to go on the website of a hotel that says we offer a fantastic customer experience apart from Tuesdays and Thursdays when Kevin, the manager, isn't in. We're bound to say great stuff in our marketing materials and our literature. It's what other people are saying about us that actually makes the world much, much more transparent. I don't know if you've ever seen this one, petrolprices.com. Type in your postcode, it tells you within X square miles of where you live the price of petrol at local petrol stations and gives you updates as well. That's not for everybody, but my father-in-law loves that. He drives miles. As a result of this, it means customers are becoming more and more experts. Have you ever had a client come to you or a customer come to you and said, I've read it on the internet that? As a result of it, customer expectations are actually getting higher. And the research suggests that more and more of us think that customer service levels are at an all-time low. I'm not sure they are. I think what it is expectations have got higher and higher. And customers want things quicker, faster. However, it's worth pointing out when we start looking at this idea of customer delight, it's got to make commercial sense. It's not buy one, get 10 free. Anybody can give stuff away. It's also working out which of your customers you actually do this stuff for. There are some customers, no matter what you do, you will never meet and definitely never exceed their expectations. For example, here are some quotes from people who actually been on Thompson holidays. Try and delight these customers. So this stuff has got to make commercial sense. The average time a UK consumer in this country is prepared to queue, and clearly people will queue for different things, but is now 2 minutes. Interesting, that's compared to 5 minutes 6 years ago. It's the same online. Have you ever actually just flicked off a website because you couldn't actually get to what you wanted? Have you actually left the website because it doesn't actually load on your smartphone? And the research suggests a 1 second delay in load time would cost Amazon an estimated $1.6 billion a year. That's the actual power of this stuff. Promiscuity is rife. Have you ever walked out of a shop because you couldn't get served, put your phone down on a company because you couldn't get through to the right person? And what we're actually seeing, more and more of us now are just finding it easy just to walk away. The other thing that we're seeing in lots and lots of worlds now is that customers no longer believe the hype. We're much more questioning and challenging. When I was a kid, we honestly believed that for MASH you had to get smash, but now we're questioning and challenging a lot more. And the word of mouth is increasing, as is word of mouse. We talk about and spread the news much, much quicker. And the research still suggests that most of us still get lots of our work from word of mouth and recommendations. But it's worth pointing out that customers talk about great stuff, they also talk about poor stuff. This is a guy that spent £65,000 on a Range Rover, couldn't get it serviced, parked up outside their dealership. If you want trouble-free motoring, do not buy one of these. They're known locally as the Range Rover dealers. You may have heard this story. A guy called Dave Carroll, Canadian singer, in 2011, was flying on United Airlines. They made him put his guitar in the hold. He wasn't particularly happy with that. But he sat there nervously as he saw a luggage train go past and his guitar fall off. A member of staff picked it up, chucked it back on and carried on. He complained to the stewardess. He said, nothing to do with us, they're subcontractors. When he arrived at Chicago Airport, went to the baggage area, his guitar was damaged. He complained to the United Airlines customer service team. They had nothing to do with us. He rang up head office. Over 2 months, it got to the customer services director. They refused to do anything about it. It's going to cost $380 to fix his guitar. They refused. He did a song and a video called United Breaks Guitars. Put it on YouTube. In the first month, got over 11.5 million views. And the share price of United Airlines dropped by about $80 million. At one point, if you typed in United Airlines into Google, you got his video and his song. So what does it all mean? Well, what it all means is that expectations are getting higher. Customers can spread the news, good or bad, much, much quicker, and it means the spotlight is on you all day, every day, 24 hours a day. It's consistent. So the reality is we've actually got to work a lot harder at building and maintaining trust by being consistent in our approach. And it's quite interesting how some businesses are doing this. Some are being very upfront about their products and services. But seriously, it's actually about doing things that make your business stand out. It's things that show you care and stuff that gets people talking, hopefully in a positive way. And that's this whole idea of customer delight. And our definition of customer delight is surprising customers with the level of service you provide. And again, if I could just stress it, surprising them in a positive way. And Couldn't have a webinar without a 2x2 grid, members of industry management consultants. We have to use these things. And here's a way of looking at your business. I could have low or no expectations of you. I might have had a bad experience with one of your competitors. I come to your business and I get a great experience, which is great stuff, which means I'm delighted. That's a great start. By definition, it means when I come back next time, my expectations have got higher. I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but it means it's something I've actually got to really work on. And we talk about 3D businesses creating sufficient devoted customers. Customers who have high expectations of you and consistently get a great experience. It's also worth pointing out that sometimes things go wrong. Customers get a poor experience. They become disappointed. And the thing to stress here, it's worth pointing out that a poor experience from your point of view could actually be better than your competitors' best experiences. But that's not necessarily what customers are comparing with you. They're comparing with the great customer experience they had from you in the past. So how do you spot and deal with disappointment? They've experienced this where something has gone wrong with a customer, but the way you've solved it and the way you've sorted their problem out, they think you're fantastic and get you back into the devoted box. In fact, I would even suggest that one of the measures of the strength of relationships you've got with your customers is how big a cock-up can you make and still keep them. Please don't take that as being the key learning lesson from this webinar. If you don't deal with it, they become disaffected. And disaffected customers are the ones that tell other people to ignore your marketing, ignore your mail, and it's very, very difficult to get them to win back. So, sufficient devoted customers is what this is all about. And what I'm going to share with you is 3 ideas, and they are just that. They're ideas for you to consider, to think about working in your business. And idea 1 is to be easy to buy from and deal with. In this fast-paced moving world, we're actually finding more and more customers easy to switch. So, and I've experienced this. Traditional online retail, face-to-face retailer, wherever I go, I always seem to get the Saturday boy, whether it's Tuesday morning, Thursday afternoon. A few years ago, I wanted to buy a DVD recorder, and with my money went into a local retailers, electrical retailers. As I walked in, on the left were a rack of DVD recorders. I'd already spent my money, but the price difference was amazing. So this fresh-faced young lad came up to me as he saw me all confused and said, "Excuse me, sir, how can I help?" Just as it said in the customer care manual of their particular business. As I'm looking at these DVD recorders, £750, £100, so what's the difference between the two? He said about £650. And then started reading the little red card. I can do that. I don't want people to read things out to me. I want people to help me and support me. And here is what we call the sales prevention officer. And I want to stress, I'm not blaming him or having a go. I think he was trying his hardest. But sales prevention officers potentially can happen anywhere in the business. For example, I speak at a lot of conferences and events. I was speaking at a seminar up in Bradford. Went on the website of the hotel I was going to. I hadn't been there before to find my way to it. And on there, how to find us, on their Google Maps, there was actually a Google Maps and it was Barcelona. I don't know if you've ever been to Bradford or to Barcelona. There are subtle differences. And I actually managed to get to the hotel. The guy in reception said, "A very good trip, sir." I said, "I have, but you need to know on your website the Google Maps is Barcelona." He said, "Oh, there's a few told us that." Again, I'm not blaming him. They know there's a problem. They do nothing about it. And we start looking at what are some of the common causes of sales prevention officers. Well, in our experience, it's sometimes the systems and processes. It's our attitudes. Do we allow people to get away with this stuff in our business? It's the policies, and it's what I call scriptees, where it's easy to follow the script and it's to actually engage with customers. I was in a well-known supermarket recently, dashed in with a bottle of wine. That's all I had, and the lady on the till said, do you need any help with your packing? I said, "No, I think I'll be able to manage. If you see me struggling after about 20 minutes, please call the police." I'm not blaming her. She's told to say those things. But these things exist. There is one other potential cause of sales prevention officers, and it could be you. Have you ever said, "Tell them I'm not in" when somebody calls? Promise to get back to somebody, never done it? And some of the things that we see, here are some examples that I've seen of sales prevention officers, just to give you a feel for it. Sometimes it's the systems. I went to a law firm in Birmingham where the car parking sign said, "Parking for partners and managers only." Customers had to pay. If the company's open from 6 and said it was open from 8 in the morning till 6 at night, when I rang it 3 or 4 times at 4 o'clock, I always got the answer machine. It's my personal business advisor who came to see me, spent a day with me looking at how he could help my business, then sent me a letter a week later saying, "Dear Sir or Madam." Might have been the skirt I was wearing on the day that confused him. It's the company I rang up once, said everything's on hold at the moment, we've got our quality assessment coming up. Client of mine got a flyer from a competitor of ours that does customer service training. So he rang him up to find out a bit about them so he could actually let me know He got passed through to 5 different departments and knew nothing about it. I once rang up a lady or a business on a Friday and actually got a lady who said, "Can you ring back next week? There's nobody here today." I said, "Who are you?" She said, "I'm not important to put the phone down on me." I'm not blaming her. I'd argue that's a management problem. It's the PR business I went to see. I was going to see them, so I went on their website. Their strapline was "Keeping you in the news." Their latest news on their website was 6 months old. Sometimes these things are a bit more obvious than others. So we'll start looking at it. Here's an action point for you to consider. Identify your sales prevention officers. And I'm not saying come up with a list of people, but some things to consider. Identify the things that irritate, frustrate, and annoy your customers. Stand in your own queues. Ring up your own business. Go on your own website. Find out what's it like to be a customer of your business. Frontline fix. Talk to your frontline staff. What are the things that they see that irritate or annoy customers? What are the things that are holding them back? Talk to your customers. Great little exercise that we do on our training programs, and we get people to ask their customers, what are the things we should stop doing, start doing, continue doing? Simple way of getting a bit of feedback to actually point out what you're good at, but also the areas you need to get better at. And I see lots and lots of businesses have questions that ask customers to rate them out of 10, or we're not bad, how good, very good. I think it's a great question to ask if you dare. Are you completely happy with what we've done? Were you completely happy? Why not? And actually find out what you need to do to make it happen. It's a tough thing. It's a great way of identifying what your customers' expectations are and finding ways to exceed them. So 3D action point is eliminate your sales prevention officers. Who are they? Where are they? How can you get rid of them? And I say again, this is not about sacking people. It's actually about finding ways to create better customer experiences. Here's a very simple example. First Direct, 24 hours a day, telephone call center. If you ring up First Direct, whoever answers the phone actually answers and deals with it, don't give their name out, unless you're organising a mortgage or a loan. Jill, my wife, once rang First Direct, was organising a loan, and the lady she wanted to speak to wasn't there. I said, "I'm really, really sorry, Mrs. White, she's not here this morning. She's back in this afternoon, can we give you a call then?" Jill said, "Yeah, that'd be great." They said, "What time would you like us to call?" Jill said, "Well, I'm in a meeting till 4:30, 5:30. Anytime at 5:30 we're fine. If we called you at 5:45, would that be okay?" "That'd be great." "Would you like us to call you at home, on your mobile, or in the office?" Jill said, "In the office, please." The lady read the number out, she got all the details, she apologised again, said, "My colleague will ring you at 5:45. The day went on, we thought nothing of it, and at 5:45 on the button, the telephone rang. That's being easy to deal with, easy to buy from. Where are the ways that you can build this into your business? And that leads us nicely into idea 2, which is this whole idea of creating customer delight. And delighting customers, as I said before, is about surprising customers the level of service you provide. And by definition, it will mean different things to different businesses and to different customers. So I'm going to share with you some examples, and your challenge is to work out how can we make these work in our business. You may or may not be familiar with Aveda Products, which is a global cosmetics brand, a very high-end. It's Jill, my wife's favourite, and you can only get it in top department stores and high-end salons. And a few years ago, we were in London on a Tommy tourist trip, wandering around London, and we wandered down Marylebone High Street. And as we did that, we bumped into the Aveda UK flagship store. I think I was mugged. We happened to find in the store, the street that Jill's favourite stock store was in. So when we went, beautiful store, done out gorgeously. In the back was a little cafe. Jill said, "We'll have a little bit of lunch, then we'll start spending." We had a lunch, very nice lunch. Jill went off. I was left to pay the bill. I put my hand up, and the young waitress came to me, said, "Got a bill, please?" Off she went. She came back with the bill. I paid the bill. She came back and brought me my change. And with my change, she gave me free hand relief, a little sample of one of their products. I walked back into the store and shouted out, "Jill," to the delight of everybody else, "I've just had free hand relief in the restaurant." I think sales went up about 20–30% that particular afternoon. I'm not suggesting free hand relief is your way of delighting customers. You've got to find ways that actually make them go, wow. And although saying that, I've actually discovered that I think and I'm trying to pick up on this and actually build it into the way they do things. But if we start looking at this whole idea of customer delight, well, here are 6 ingredients that we actually see. And it produces a wow reaction. I said before that will mean different things in different sectors. It appears spontaneous or unexpected. This might seem a bit bizarre, but you can actually plan spontaneity into your business. It's the personal touch. It's not we've got a special offer on this week. It makes customers feel valued. It's genuine. This is not buy one, get 10 free. This is not about overcoming and trying to overcome the basics of what we should be doing. And it creates a talking point. Some very simple examples. I went to a client of mine. I hadn't been seen for 6 months. We'd done some customer service training at their offices down in Leicester. I turned up, and as I walked in, Andrew, the office junior, having walked past the sign that said, "Welcome to Andy Hanselman," she said, "Hi Andy, have you had a good trip from Sheffield?" I thought it was quite good she remembered. I said, "Yeah, I have, thanks." She goes, "John, within a couple of minutes, can you hang on for him?" I said, "Of course I can." She goes, "Would you like a cup of coffee while you're waiting?" I said, "That'd be brilliant." She goes, "It's black, no sugar, isn't it?" I said, "How did you know that?" She goes, "It's my job to know." She'd actually taken responsibility for her part of the business. Clients of mine recognised that every Christmas when they gave their customers bottles of whiskey, so did everybody else, they wanted to do something a little bit personal. So they found out a bit about their customers and subscribed them to a magazine for 12 months, to a magazine that they found useful. I got 442 Football magazine. They had to be careful about some of their customers' personal interests, but it was a subtle reminder once a month about their business for about the same cost of the bottle of whiskey. Do you have a standard letters according to our records? You're 30 days overdue, 60 days overdue, 90 days overdue? How about a letter according to our records you paid us on time? Could we just say, "Thank you very much"? Took my mum to see her financial advisor, a car parking space reserved for her. That delighted her. It completely built the trust that she got with those particular people. So, 3D action point for this one. Identify ways that you can delight your customers. Starting point could be to eliminate your sales prevention officers. Another one to do is this. Sit down, work it out yourself, or get your team together. If your customers were to say this, "Yes, they dealt with professionally, but what completely blew me away was," what would that be? And more importantly, how can I actually make that happen? Even very simple things. Ring up a customer this afternoon and say, "Hi, how are things?" Just talk to them. Client of ours here in Sheffield, Chimo Holdings, who still make beautifully crafted silverware, goes all over the world, and yes, we still do that here in Sheffield. They actually put a personal note in their a little box when it goes to people, a compliment slip that says, "Greetings from Sheffield, thanks much for actually buying this high quality silverware, hope you enjoy it, best wishes from all the team in Chimo." They've actually learned to do it in 147 different languages. Slight downside of that is because they do get their customers all excited and interested in this stuff, they actually get customers ringing up from all over the world, shouting down the phone all excited in a language they can't quite understand. And that leads us on to this whole idea of idea 3, because you raise your customers' expectations. So you've got to make them do this consistently. And we talk about creating customers who are hopelessly devoted to you. As you can see, we actually think about these things. And it's about consistency. We're back to First Direct. Yes, they've built systems, but a client of mine, she's an HR director of a business in Leeds, and she went down to London for an HR conference. On the train, got off at King's Cross, got into a taxi, realised that her purse had been stolen, or she'd lost it. When running back to train, it wasn't there. Got in the taxi, luckily got enough cash in her pocket to get herself to the hotel, and the hotel had actually been paid for by her company so she could get in. She then did the laborious task now of ringing around all the call centres to cancel her cards and giving away her mother's middle name and the dog's inside leg measurement as passwords. Very routine. Until she rang First Direct, and the lady she spoke to said, "Well, where are you now? How are you?" She goes, "Well, I'm fine. I'm in a hotel." She took her details, sorted things out, and then said, "Well, if you're in the hotel for the next 3 days, for the conference in London for the hotel for the next 3 days, what are you actually going to do for money?" She said, "I've not even thought about that." Well, she said, "Had a look on Google Maps. 250 yards down the road from you, your hotel, is an HSBC bank. If you tell me what you're wearing tomorrow, I'll give them a ring and have £250 waiting for you." I don't believe that in the First Direct staff handbook it says, in the event of a customer being stranded at a hotel, Hyde Park Corner, this is what you do. One of their core values is, all right, treating customers as you'd want to be treated yourself. It's about the behaviours they actually want from their people. And it's all about culture. And characteristic 5 of 3D businesses is they create an Uber culture. Everybody understands what's expected of them. The systems are built to reinforce it. People are engaged to make it work, and they're rewarded for making it happen. And people say, "Well, what is culture all about, Andy?" Well, I can get actually my old MBA notes out and come up with all sorts of wonderful descriptions. The description we like is this: it's the way we do things around here. Or another great definition is, it's what people do when no one's looking. And it's all about spelling out the behaviours you want from your people. Are they clear? And when we start looking at this, sit down and work out, have you established the behaviours you want from your people? Yes, you might have core values. Do they understand what they actually mean? Get them involved in the process. Get them to work it out and work out what this means for them in their role. Apple give their staff very, very clear guidelines as to how they actually want it to be dealt with. Interestingly, they also reward their staff on customer satisfaction levels. their systems are built to reinforce those things. I've also discovered that Ryanair do something similar. Only joking. But what Ryanair could do if they wanted to is to maybe be a bit like Southwest Airlines. Southwest Airlines are a cheap and cheerful airline in the States, and their staff are allowed and encouraged to say whatever they want within certain legal limits to actually demonstrate their dramatic difference. Here are some of the things their staff have been heard to say. And if you go on YouTube and video and then Google in Southwest Airlines wrapping steward, you'll see a brilliant video of this guy actually wrapping instructions. It's research, so you can actually do it. So again, find ways to reinforce the behaviours you actually want. Pret a Manger, this is how they do it. For example, they recruit people who are actually looking for the characteristics they actually want. Passion, team talking, team working. They want people to demonstrate the preferred behaviours. Their mystery shoppers spot people being cheerful. That's what they want people to do. And they reward people for actually doing that. If they get a reward, they have to spend it on the team because it's about team working. Interestingly, their interview is a 6-hour shift and the staff vote in or out. Not are they a nice person, but they fit in with the values and the behaviours we actually want. Innocent Smoothies, one of the systems that they actually have, if you ring their office, if their reception rings for more than 5 rings, every phone in the building rings. If it starts happening a lot, they get another receptionist on. So again, systems built to reinforce the behaviours that they want. If you look at Harley Davidson, every single member of staff at Harley Davidson has to spend at least 2 weekends a year at Harley Davidson convention interacting with customers. And that's the research team, the marketing people, and the finance team. This is revolutionary stuff. Ritz-Carlton hotels, every member of staff at Ritz-Carlton is allowed and empowered and encouraged to spend up to $2,000 on a problem if they spot it without talking to a manager. And there's a great story of a guy called Chris Hearn staying at the Florida West Keys Ritz-Carlton hotel, and he comes home with his family to be told the devastating news by his 5-year-old son that he's left his best mate, Joshy the giraffe, at home. Those of you who've got 5-year-olds, you know the world has now come to an end. He's not going to have his tea, he's not going to bed, he's not going to school in the morning. Chris told his son a bit of a white lie and said, Joshy's having some today's holiday. That got him to bed. He was going to ring the next day, he didn't need to, he got a call that evening. Excuse me, have you actually lost a giraffe? It was Ritz-Carlton laundry team. They'd found him that morning, they'd been ringing around all their customers. He said, yeah, I have. We'll put him in the post here. I don't know if you could help me. I did tell my son a bit of a white lie. Any way you could show that he was actually on holiday. 2 days later, a package arrives with Joshy in it, along with some goodies and Joshy himself, and a beautifully bound photo album with a picture of Joshy sunbathing, a picture of Joshy having a massage, driving down to the beach, chilling with his mates. That's what this stuff's about. Do you champion your champions? Do you encourage those who do this stuff? What reward do they get? In lots of businesses I see, the reward is they get to do more work. American Airlines, they actually get their customers to spot their people. They give them vouchers that allow them to trade them in for prizes. Equally, be careful on that. I was in a well-known shopping centre near Sheffield in a men's retailer's, looked after by a young lad called Brett, who was 17. He did brilliant service. They got some posters saying, please nominate our customer champions. I said, I'm nominating you. He said, oh, please don't. I said, why not? Well, I had 7 nominations this month. I said, that's great, you'll win. He said, I don't want to win. I said, why not? The prize you get to go to dinner with the managing director. Make sure your rewards are the right ones. 3D demonstrator, great example. M&S, a client of mine, had a complaint, got it serviced, got it sorted. They got an email saying, how would you rate the person that dealt with you? When they said excellent, an email came through saying, what prize do you think they should have? That's this whole idea of creating devoted customers. So quickly to summarize, 3 ideas. Idea 1, be easy to buy from and deal with. Idea 2, delight your customers by surprising the level of service you provide. And idea 3 is do it consistently to create devoted customers. And because this is about exceeding expectations, idea 4 is to do something. Stand there in his shoes and not doing anything is not what this is about. Go out, find out what's going on and make a difference. Vision without action is hallucination. Take the first step and just try and do things, and maybe do things that are a bit scary. But whatever you do, please make sure you don't just stand there, do something. What are you going to do? A couple of things you might want to consider. If you want to buy the book, please feel free to do that. If you actually want to download my 3D Thoughts, which is a 3-minute podcast every Monday morning, please feel free. And when we do these things, we often find people can be divided into 3 groups. There are those who make things happen, those who watch things happen, those that ask what happened as it all just goes flying by. I hope you're going to do something. Please feel free to download these things or say thanks very much for your time. Missing you already. And then if you've got any questions, please feel free to fire away.
Thank you very much, Andy. That's fantastic. Couple of questions come in. I'm just conscious that we've gone over half an hour, but if people want to hang on for a minute, that'd be great. One question is, in terms of, is there a difference, Andy, between B2B and B2C businesses when it comes to customer delight and delighting customers?
I don't think that the principles are different. I think the difference is very often is in terms of how we do work. Very often, I think in B2C, it very often is around sort of it's the front end. It's actually how the customer comes into the shop. How do we deal with those sort of things? I think in B2B, very often it means it's got to get everybody involved. The accounts department, they are often the last touch point a customer has or a client has, so we've got to make sure that they are on board with this as well. But I don't think the principles are massively different, no.
Fantastic. Well, listen, thank you, Andy. I'm really conscious of time. We really appreciate that. That's given us some great insight and some very useful content. So do appreciate that for taking the time to deliver that for us this morning. Can I just thank everyone for your attendance and your attention.